It's been over 2 years since I last reviewed Flashing Lights, and a lot has changed in that amount of time, including an entirely new map. As requested, I'm going to briefly look at the game again and highlight some of the newest features as of February 2021. Back in 2018, I had quite a few complaints. If you haven't checked out that video, I'll have a link down in the description below, but today we're going to just focus on what's new. Let's get right into it and see what kind of progress Flashing Lights has made. Flashing Lights is still in early access, and is still one of the few games on Steam that lets you take the role of emergency service personnel. Over the course of the last few years, the developers of Flashing Lights have put a lot of focus on improving how the game looks. They completely changed the character skins, and now offer more ways that you can customize what you look like. It is still very minimal, and I imagine that with time they will continue to add new character cosmetics, but for the time being, this is more than sufficient. They have also added a considerable amount of new vehicles for each department. There's now a sedan and SUV for the EMS and fire department, though they both lack the capability to complete some of the missions, such as those that require a stretcher or a water supply. Nevertheless, having the option to use one of these for role-playing purposes alongside the larger engines and ambulances is nice, and it can add to the game. The police department got a prisoner transport van and a tow truck that allows you to pick up and move parked vehicles. The 3 primary police vehicles now all have the option to take off the graphics on the side, making them undercover. It would be nice to see the option to change the color of these beyond black and white. The largest change to the vehicles came just a few months ago when Flashing Lights announced that they would give players the option to customize the lights and sirens on each of the vehicles. The options for the sirens are fairly limited, and some of them sound absolutely horrendous. But the light customization has been revolutionary. For any of the vehicles, players now have the option to change the light bar on the top of the vehicle in addition to many other lights that can be added in the windows, side panels, grille, basically anywhere you can imagine. These lights can also be set to custom flashing patterns. The process to make a pattern is very finicky and will hopefully be streamlined in the future, but the fact that they're offering it at all right now is very cool, and you can sink a lot of time into creating those unique patterns. They also give you the choice to change the color of these lights, but I find more times than not this is annoying more so than it is creative. The police department also got an array of new items to control traffic. In addition, Flashing Lights got a handful of updates that added features which change the gameplay as opposed to just being cosmetic. This includes having to fuel your vehicle, AI ambulances and prison transport, and more callouts for all of the departments. Flashing Lights also offers a feature to use in-game voice chat instead of typing to communicate with the other players. If you're playing with a group that really gets into this, it can be a lot of fun to have a designated dispatcher, chiefs for each department, and more cooperation and communication between the players. I find that sometimes this feature is not being used at all, or if it is, it's not being used in a way that's beneficial to the game, which is unfortunate, but sort of expected. If you remember from my first review, one of the biggest gripes was that Flashing Lights did not have callouts that required players from multiple departments to respond. Not only did they begin to add calls that do just that, but they actually did an entire overhaul of the dispatch system. Players can now pull up a computer screen that is inside of your vehicle and see pending calls. Once someone in your department responds to a call, it is moved to a list of active calls that anyone from any department can view and also respond to. So not only do some calls actually require the help from multiple departments, but the option is given for anyone to respond to almost any call, meaning that the options for role-playing has opened up tremendously. For example, police officers can respond to block off roads for building fires, and EMS can respond to injured civilians in an armed robbery. Flashing Lights still has a decent amount of bugs, but this is to be expected in early access games. None of them are game-breaking, more or less just inconveniences such as being physically unable to run down flights of stairs. Because they are currently in the process of slowly rolling out a new map, some of these features are currently up in the air. For example, when choosing to play on the new map or in multiplayer, some of the callouts are temporarily unavailable. While it can be frustrating or repetitive at times, the game already looks and feels significantly more polished than it did in 2018. Players should have peace of mind knowing that the developers of Flashing Lights have been working day and night year after year to continue making improvements to the game, and I'm very excited to see what the next 2 years has to come. But I'm curious what you guys think. Are you pleased with all the features Flashing Lights has added? And what are you still hoping they'll include before officially releasing the game? As always, let me know in the comments below, and until next time, this has been Picking Up Steam.